want to thank you for coming and joining me today. I first moved and I relocated to another area. I was through your process. The care that you can get out of it as well. Hi, welcome back to Happy Life, Better Life. Thank you so much for your comments. I always want to thank the people who reach out and who watch the videos. All of you, thank you so much. Thank you for all the people who have joined. And I just want to say I appreciate you being here so much. Right now, I want to really inspire and encourage, but I want to come from a personal place with it, as I always do. But first, I'm going to just give you this little tidbit, this little quote, because I want to make sure there's something of substance here before I go on to what I want to say. So my quote for today is, "Don't allow the small things to steal your joy, but learn to appreciate the small things that happen every day, every day." When I was in a hospital a long time ago, I was in my 30s, and I had a large tumor, and I had to have an operation. And after I had that operation, I went home, and there were complications. I mean, like, I was only home for a few hours, and I had to be rushed back to the hospital. But I honestly knew I was not okay before I left, and I kept trying to, because the first day or two after the operation, I felt good. I was up and walking and moving around. But that third day, the day I was supposed to go home, I did not feel well, and I knew something was wrong. And I kept trying to tell the doctor, and she was like, no, you're fine, you're fine. I said, I'm not leaving here until you run some tests. They did some blood work, and everything came back fine, they said. I was sent home, and then a few hours later, I was vomiting uncontrollably, and it was horrible. It was a horrible experience. And I had to literally threaten to sue them, to say something is wrong. And they were like, no, come back in. I was like, so when I find out, when I go to this other hospital and they tell me what's wrong, you're going to be hearing from lawyers. So got back in, and I'm going to be honest, they never really found out exactly what was wrong, but they did open me up. They knew something was really wrong. So anyway, long story short, during that time, I was in the hospital for like a month, and I could not do certain things. I could not eat. I had tubes going in my neck. I had tubes going in my nose, down into my stomach. My body just couldn't process anything. They went in and tried to get out scar tissue and stuff, but apparently something was, I don't know, going on. They thought maybe scar tissue had adhered to my intestines or something like that. And at that point in time, I could not do the simple things that we do every day, like eating, and not to be, special, but even like going to the bathroom, those kinds of things, my body was not functioning. I was very afraid that when I left there, that I might have to have bags attached to me, And I didn't even want to leave that way. I'm going to be really honest. I did not want to leave that way. I felt like if I can't leave here whole, if I can't leave here the way that I came in, I don't want to leave that way. That was my thinking at the time. That was my process. My children were little at that point. They were like in elementary school. The oldest was in high school. And I just did not want that. I didn't want that. And when I say elementary school, their school went up to the 8th grade. So I my kids were probably like in 6th and 8th and 9th or 10th. So, long story short, the things that I valued the most became very clear to me. I realized how much time I had wasted. I had spent so much time working. My husband at the time and we were trying to move ahead, and I was working at a bank, and usually I would work 6 days every other week. It was a requirement. It wasn't like I just wanted to do it, but it was a requirement. So every other week you had to work on Saturday, and it was only for 4 hours. But usually by the time I came home after already working a 5-hour week, working that Saturday, I had nothing left to give. I was so tired. It's the weekend. You've got kids. They want to do stuff. They want to go out. They want to have fun. And I would try to do certain things, but I'm telling you, there would be times during the week I would be trying to help them with homework, and I'd be up 1 minute, and the next thing I'd be nodding off. I couldn't give them my full attention. And those were the things that I thought about when I was in the hospital. My kids, and how much I wanted to spend time with them, and my spouse, and just not appreciating the everyday, the simple things, not appreciating those moments like I should have. And I was like, God, if I ever get out of here, and if I'm able to live a normal life again, there were just certain things I will not do. So pretty much after that, the jobs that I would take and get, it had to be something for me, like where I was helping people. Other than the time when I said I worked at Walmart when I first moved, I wanted to be doing something where I felt like I was giving something, where it meant something. And so I worked in nonprofit. After that, I worked for schools. I drove a school bus at one time. I worked with children who had special needs. These were the kinds of things that I did, but I always tried to give my kids the time that they deserved from me. And to this day, I do that. And I want you to think about something that you might have taken for granted. It could be something simple. It could be people in your life that you've taken for granted. Not that you meant to do it. Sometimes we just get busy living, and we focus on trying to move forward and trying to make money and trying to do things. But I guarantee you, if you think about it, there's somebody that you probably should appreciate more and verbalize that appreciation to. And some of you may still be married. Some of you may still have spouses. Some of you, maybe you might be thinking right now you could be going through a divorce, or you could be going through a separation, and you realize, I really did not appreciate that person the way I should have. I didn't appreciate the way they did this or the way they did that. It is never too late to show your gratitude for even the small things. The small things. When I was married, there was a time my spouse and I took a class. Forgive me, sorry, my ear was itching. We took a class together, and it was called The Power of Touch. I feel like every married couple or couple wanting to be married or whatever should go through this class. And we had to sit in front of each other. He put his hands on top of mine, or I put my hands on top of his. It was whoever's turn it was to do it. And one of the things you had to do was say, think about first all the things that that person's hands did for you in the course of a day. And at the time, my spouse, he drove for the transportation system in the city that we lived in. And I would think about him driving that bus, doing different things. I would think about him putting out the trash. I would think about him, coming in or hugging our kids or whatever. All the things he may have done, washing the car, those things. And in that moment, I could think about it and I could be appreciative of all the things that his hands did in the course of the day that I just never really thought about before. And say, thank you for that. Thank you for that. And, you could be a husband and it could be your wife. And you might be thinking about all the things, cooking, cleaning, bathing the children, running the vacuum in the house, mopping the floors, doing the dishes, going to the supermarket, picking out food, paying for food, all these things, rubbing your back, rubbing your head, whatever, These are things that we do for each other that sometimes can be taken for granted. And so no matter what state you might find yourself in, you could be still going through a separation, you could still be going through a divorce, whatever the case is. Guess what? You can still take the time to say, you know what? Thanks for that. I didn't really appreciate that when you did it. And I appreciate it. I appreciate you doing that for me. So anyway, just my thought for today. Gratitude. Gratitude. Not allowing the small things to steal your joy, because they're going to happen, but also being appreciative of the small things at the same time. Thank you for joining me today. I want you to live a happy life and a better life. Have a great day. Bye-bye.